Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee today announced what he calls a strong plan to end the mess of illegal immigration, simply sealing the border with Mexico. That, says Huckabee, would mean hiring more Border Patrol agents. Huckabee also said he'd make illegal aliens return home within 4 months as a condition for applying to re-enter the United States. Otherwise, he says they'd have to wait 10 years to apply. Joining me now are three of the best political analysts in the country from San Francisco. Republican strategist Ed Rollins. Ed was a White House political director under President Reagan. Joining me here in New York Daily News columnist Michael Goodwin and syndicated columnist Miguel Perez. I want to get to the Huckabee story in just a moment, but I also want to talk about these startling poll numbers that are shaking up that campaign. But I want to begin with our top story, the CIA videotapes. The timing of this, videotapes taken of interrogations in 2002, videotapes then subsequently destroyed, and now the controversy. What's happening here?
Well, as I understand it, simply the New York Times got wind of the destruction of the videotapes and printed an article, told the administration it was going to, confirmed it. It certainly seems to have gotten the story dead on. And as a result, the CIA had to tell its employees. The notion, what I found really extraordinary is the notion President Bush didn't know about this until yesterday. That, to me, is extraordinary. I mean, last week we found out he really didn't seem to know much about the new NIE on Iran until recently. It's getting scary.
Miguel, I mean, do you think this is a hit against the Bush administration?
It's getting not only scary, it's terribly embarrassing. I as an American, I feel embarrassing that we have what's going on in the White House. You know, for the president to now all of a sudden pretend that everything is okay when in fact he had all of this information on his lap, and just a few weeks ago he told us that, you know, if you want to avoid a nuclear war, you got to be concerned about Iran. You know, he had the information so that he could have told us that the nuclear war was not around the corner at that time.
And what about the magnitude of the controversy over the CIA videotapes in particular? I mean, do you think this is something that is going to endure here?
Sure it is, because I think the CIA is running amok. And I think, first of all, everybody questions their intelligence reports. You're not sure whether they're accurate or inaccurate. We went to war and then we found out they weren't accurate. Hopefully they're accurate on this particular time, but we're not sure. But more important, when you find out that Porter Goss was the CIA director, didn't want this to happen, wasn't notified till after the fact, CIA has to basically report to the ranking members of Congress on any activity they do. The Intelligence Committee, they clearly didn't do that. And these guys think they're above the law, and that's outrageous.
Ed, I want to talk about Huckabee, and I want to give you some props here, because you have been telling me, and this broadcast for months, that you were predicting some sort of a Huckabee surge. And there's this Newsweek poll that is showing an incredible gain for Mike Huckabee. It's a poll of potential Republican caucus goers. Shows 39%, Romney 17%, Thompson 10, Giuliani 9, McCain 6. You compare that with a recent Des Moines Register Iowa poll among likely Republican caucus goers. That shows 29-24. It's a little bit tighter in the Des Moines Register Iowa. What's happening here?
He has momentum. He's connecting with voters. He's getting a lot of free media time. He still has very little money to be on television, unlike Romney and others. And people believe him. People like him. And I think to a certain extent, he's doing well in South Carolina. He's leading there. He's now starting to take some leads in the national polls. And he's a very credible candidate.
Miguel, he comes out strong with a very strong seal the border immigration policy today. Does that help him with potential caucus goers?
It helps him depending on what else he says about the border and about immigration. It's not just about sealing the border. Right. Mr. Huckabee has demonstrated that he has compassion for illegal immigrants, as opposed to some of the other Republican candidates. So, you know, if he can propose something...
Compassion how? It was the DREAM Act, right?
Compassion for the immigrants who are already here, in terms of eventually giving them some kind of legalization plan for them to stay here. You know, if he seals the border, I mean, I can live, and a lot of Latinos in this country, Latino voters can live with, look, we'll shut the border, we'll really control the borders from now on, but give a legalization plan to the immigrants who are here. I think Mr. Huckabee would go along with that.
Don't question Huckabee is having a terrific surge across the country now. I think you're starting to see him pick up in the South as well, where he should do well. Florida and probably South Carolina. I wonder, however, and this is always true, I think, of anybody who's on a roll, is there something to trip it up? And when you look at some of the stories about Huckabee with the rapist murderer he sort of set up for parole, this NIE thing, the intelligence estimate on Iran, 24 hours later on this network, he didn't know about it. And the foreign policy issue is a serious dent in him because he doesn't have any experience. He doesn't talk about it much. I think in the last debate he didn't get asked any questions. So he's clearly on a surge. The question of whether he's the flavor of the month among primary voters who haven't really settled on anybody else. I think more among Republicans and Democrats. Democrats have narrowed it down to 2, really. Republicans are still searching among really 5 different candidates who have some kind of support in some states. So he's doing well. We'll have to see whether it can hold on for another month or so.
And we haven't talked at all about religion here. You know, Romney with his big speech this week about Mormonism, saying the word Mormon once, but talking about common values and the like. Is religion something that you think is pushing this surge behind Huckabee?
Well, I think, first of all, I thought the speech yesterday was a very credible effort, and I thought Romney should be applauded for doing it. I think it's sad if religion is a part of all of this. I think each individual has the right to choose what it is they want to believe in, and I think we have some very fine people on both sides who have their own personal beliefs. I think Huckabee obviously is connected, captured a certain segment of the electorate who are looking for a candidate. I think he's honest. I think he basically has a great ability to communicate. As Michael said, it's now a game. He's certainly one of the 2 or 3 front runners, and then you get counterpunched, and people are coming after you, and you got to defend yourself. But I think he's at least being looked at and looked at hard today, and I think that's a good place.
He was up against some, a lot of high expectations for Romney's speech yesterday. Everyone comparing it to the JFK speech 48 years ago and 90 miles away. I mean, how did it shape up for you?
Well, religion has never been a factor for me. I don't think we should, select the president based on his religion, but definitely, the other issues is the things that I have a problem with Mr. Romney. So there are other issues that the flip-flopping
like
and all of that. No, his flip-flopping, his position on immigration. Let's not forget that just this week his yard became news again because, in fact, like Giuliani said, he does have a sanctuary mansion.
It's incredible that this is the state of the illegal immigration situation in this country, that a former governor's yard can be, some kind of a touchstone in the illegal immigration debate.
I think Romney really made lemonade out of lemons. I agree with that. It's too bad that he had to give the speech, but he had to give the speech in part because Huckabee is exploiting the prejudice against Mormons in Iowa in particular. And so Huckabee, a former minister, pastor, can sort of talk that talk so well that people, I think, were peeling away from Romney. And on the other hand, as Miguel says, not everybody who dislikes Romney does so because he's a Mormon.
Right.
I mean, there are lots of reasons not to like Mitt Romney so far. So I think he did help himself. Whether that has staying power, again, depends on is it larger positions and not the religion.
Let me ask you about 2 names. Both start with O, both have 5 letters, and they're going to be together in South Carolina. And there are going to be a lot of news about Oprah and Obama. How important is this, Miguel? And what does it mean for the other campaigns? I mean, they must be running scared to a certain degree because as we reported with Candy Crowley, I mean, there are celebrities and celebrity endorsements, which some people say don't mean anything, and then there's Oprah.
Exactly. That's normally my feeling. I'm not crazy about celebrity endorsements. I don't really think they mean anything, but Oprah is totally different. She has a tremendous following among African Americans and especially among women, and she can help Obama on both of those fronts.
And now, Ed, we're hearing that Bill Clinton is going to head down the day before in South Carolina. I mean, I imagine that the campaigns are going to pull out the big guns that they have as well. Right, Ed?
Well, the critical thing here is they attract attention. They have moved the venue from an 18,000-seat stadium to an 80,000-seat stadium for Oprah. So, I mean, she doesn't make the sale. Obama has to make the sale, but she certainly brings the audience, and I think she has great credibility, especially among women who watch her every day. And I think to a certain extent, that's one of the strengths of Hillary. So at least he'll get an opportunity to talk to these women, try and make his own case, and that's critical.
Does she, Michael, translate into votes, though? I mean, all those ears will be listening to the senator, but Senator Obama, but will she translate into votes for him?
We don't know, but we've never seen this in it's never been tried on this level. There's never been an Oprah who's gotten into politics this way. One of the interesting facts of the week was that Hillary Clinton countered the Obama-Oprah union by announcing the endorsement of Barbra Streisand. Really, that's one that won't move the needle. Oprah might.
Ed, does she translate into votes?
Certainly Barbara Streisand translated into, I was a great fan of Barbara Streisand, and after she became such a political activist, I don't even listen to her anymore. That's my bias. Great talent, but lousy chooser of candidates.
That's the problem with celebrity endorsements. You love your celebrity, you love their CD, and then suddenly they go and they endorse somebody.
They ruin it.
But look, a lot of African Americans are still undecided about whether to go with Hillary or to go with Obama. And I think Oprah can help Obama in that direction, convincing African Americans that they can win, that they can have a black president. And I think she's trying to do that.
I want to talk about Hugo Chavez, because this is something you and I have talked about a lot. Hugo Chavez, over the past year and a half or so, trying to use democracy there in his country, in Venezuela, to push a socialist revolution. And then on the ballot, he really didn't. Democracy sort of bit him.
Well, you know, Christine, Venezuelans came very, very close from giving us the world's first democratically elected dictatorship.
Isn't that remarkable?
You know, it's like the people saying, take away our freedoms. You know, here's this maniac who wants to be our president, who fights with the whole world. And, you know, we keep voting, and referendum after referendum, election after election, we keep voting for him. They finally put the brakes on. Why? Because they realize this guy is a madman. He's going around the whole world. He's, you know, the king of Spain, the president of Peru. He's about to start a war with Colombia. He came to the United States and called President Bush the devil. I mean, the guy is just out of, he's creating all kinds of alliances with Iran. In the axis of evil. I mean, he's creating a front, an anti-American front in Latin America. He wants to be the dictator of all of Latin America. He wants to unite all of Latin America and be the head of it all.
You know, Michael, was this a victory for U.S. foreign policy, or despite U.S. foreign policy, this happened?
Well, I think probably what's going on, in addition to all the things Miguel said, I think he's got a lot of problems domestically as well. I mean, the economy is not doing well. Despite the oil prices, which is their main product, it's not being shared equally. A lot of people are not prospering. And then when you have a kind of a crackdown on rights, dissidents locked up, that sort of thing, suddenly you say, wait a minute, what are we doing to this guy? In terms of American foreign policy, yes, we made a mistake in basically trying to support the coup to try to get rid of him. But we've got several victories around the world. Sarkozy in France, for example. Gordon Brown has turned out to be a stalwart ally in Great Britain already. There were worries about that. So I think we're actually doing pretty well on that front.
And Ed, I'm going to let you have the final word. You can talk about Chavez, foreign policy, or you can take another victory lap about the Huckabee surge that you've been predicting here.
Here's what I want to say. The amazing thing to me is I'm going to have two big hurdles.
Sure.
We have an African American and a woman who are leading in the Democratic Party. The mere fact that we're still debating whether someone as a Mormon has a chance to win, I think is the last hurdle that we need to get over here. Americans ought to basically be able to pick on the personalities, on the strength and the character and the records of people, and I think that's what we're going to get to by the end of this campaign.
All right, well said, my friend. Ed Rollins in San Francisco, thank you so much for joining us again. Former White House political director during the Reagan administration. Also, Michael Goodwin, New York Daily News, thank you. And Miguel Perez, syndicated columnist. A pleasure, as always, gentlemen. Still ahead, Heroes, our tribute to the men and women who serve this country in uniform.